Oh, it's working. So that was great, Hannah. Thank you. Oops, hold on. In that late and missing file folder, Elsie? Elise, sorry. See, now my computer's working right now. I'm not going to turn it off. I'm never going to turn it off. They're going to wipe it on Friday late afternoon, and I'm just going to be like a dad in the waiting room. It's like, is my little baby okay?
Are you gonna back up your stuff?
That's what I did today.
Okay.
I backed up everything. All right, so yeah, we looked at this one already. And so let me take a look. Evelyn, is Evelyn here right now? Evelyn?
Yep.
Okay. This is F redo, flag redo. Oh, that's very nice. Did we talk about this one yet? Oh, that's very good.
Not the redo.
Oh, that's very, very good. Clap hands. Yay! Oh, yeah, that's wonderful. I'm just going to sit here and look at it for like an hour. All right, very good. Excellent. All right, let me see if there's anything else in that folder.
I turned mine in on the Thursday when the submission was still open. My redo.
This is just the redo.
Yeah, I just I turned in my redo when on the Thursday when it was still the submission was.
So I see two of them. Which one? Both of them you want me to look at?
Oh no. This was not in the late folder. The one the pixie dust I turned in the actual pixie dust folder.
Right. Oh, you did. Okay.
Yeah.
Did we look at these at all?
I think so. Yes.
I'm just happy that my computer is working. Yeah, we looked at that one. Okay. And I think I have another Wes Anderson film queued up for tonight. Moonrise Kingdom. Okay. So you put it in, oh, that's the wrong class. Oh, and I got an email from somebody. Okay. So you just put it, you doubled it. Oh, was it late? Do we see this one?
No, I turned it in. I turned it in when before class, and then I turned it in the Thursday like the redo, but when the submission was still.
Oh, this is very, very sweet. This is great. So you put a radial gradient in the background. Yes?
Yeah, I was trying to make it so it's like dark but not like completely black.
Oh yeah, we didn't see this. This is very interesting. I see that there's pixie dust popping that are bigger, and they appear to be like more closer to the camera. It's very interesting. I haven't seen that kind of thing before. Yeah, very good. Excellent. Hands for Jeanette, everybody. Yay!
Thank you.
Yeah, that's excellent. Okay. Yeah, and you can see I haven't graded that one because I was waiting. Let me do a folder here. Oh my God, everyone, I made the mistake of calling one of the teachers that used to teach the visual game programming class at AI. And he was really good. He's an ex-NASA engineer He was an electrical engineer. And he just taught himself all the computer coding application. He taught himself Unity. You know, who does that? And I made the mistake of calling him and asking him about my computer because he's a Mac guy. And I got yelled at for like 45 minutes. Like, you should have never done that. You should have never done this. I'm like, oh man, I'm sorry. All right, Elise. Oh, Elise, you're here today? So, Elise, I thought she was here with us. Well, this is what happens when you don't do the loop all the way, or that she only rendered a few frames. So the idea is to get it to loop. It looks like she's on the right track, but she either forgot to render the whole clip or she just didn't get to fully animating it. There's a few hookup frames that are missing, maybe 3 or 4 hookup frames that are missing. Oh, I wasn't sure. Okay, so I'm just gonna write a note for her. I'm gonna extend the deadline till Monday. And I'll do that for everybody. Maybe I should spell the words right. That would help, right? I'm going to leave Monday uncapitalized. All right, so let me do that before I do anything else here. Sorry, everybody. Just so I don't forget. Fire and smoke, edit, I'm gonna just put it towards, I'll put it on Monday. So if anyone has revisions on this, you can just you can resubmit right on top. Oh, hold on, what did I do? Okay, so that should be good now. Okay, sorry. Santiago, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I didn't quite get to finish it, but
Well, yeah, what I gave you in the demo was, it was a good demo, but I realized that I gave you a lot to do. You got it to, I think you just got to get it to hook up correctly. What you've got is starting to work. I can see this little guy right here going up, right? But I think you just got to get it to loop just a little more smoothly.
yeah.
And I think your smoke gets a little funky shaped. It starts out okay, but then it ends up looking like some sort of Italian noodle or something, like some fusilli noodle. You can attend to that by making the smoke layer semi-transparent. So put the opacity down on that. And you could also do another layer right on top of it. That's okay. But if you leave that one there and then do like one smoke bubble moving on top of it. All right, thank you, Santiago.
Yeah.
Zaylee. All right, Zaylee, are you here? Zaylee?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is working. Sure, this is working. So one thing that I might recommend is that you've got this little loop, this little hole that starts here. So get that hole to move all the way up and through it, right? Do you understand?
Yeah.
So it starts moving and then you just kind of kill the hole. But let that hole go all the way up, and then as the hole comes up here, let it become one of the little sparks. And there's a space for it. Your smoke is working pretty well. And you've got a transparency on it. It's working really well. So yeah, I think it's working good. Thank you, Zaylee. Hands for Zaylee, please. Yay! Oh yeah, that's working really well. Oh yeah, it's great. It's perfect. It's great. Hannah, everybody. Yay! So now just imagine that you have like this in the far background of your car loop, right? Like, oh no. Yeah, this is great. There's a whole bunch of details of the fire down here that are just really cool. The shapes of the little fire are great. You saw me bringing up Harmony because I'm going to show you all how to do a really cool thing in Harmony. Because once you've got it to this point, now it becomes really easy to just fine tune it a little bit. Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Hannah. Also doing attendance as I'm doing this. Brianna. Okay, I think it's working pretty well. I think you just got to get the loop to be more consistent, because I like for instance, what I'm saying is like this little shape right here that looks like a fish, right? It's moving up a little bit, and then it doesn't turn into this little spot thing. All these little things are moving, but they don't disappear. So this little part is working. So use the same philosophy that you did about the whole, about getting this piece to act, because there's probably like 3 or 4 drawings that are missing, but it's working fairly well. Right, hands for Brianna, everybody. Marley. Oh, Ria, sorry. Oh, this is great. Yeah, that's completely awesome. Yep, perfect. Ria, everybody. Yay! Yay, it's great. Yep, and you'll see what I'm going to do tonight. You could even add to this and make it even more awesome. Yes, it's excellent. Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Ria. All right, Damien, are you here?
Yes.
Damien? Oh, Ria, okay. Juan, are you here tonight? Juan. Timmy, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. I didn't see, did you submit
Which one?
this fire?
No, not yet.
All right, Juan, I saw your name. Okay. Damien. You know, the fire is starting to work. I think that I see more of a lateral movement, more just like a sideways movement. One of the things that you might try is with the same exact number of frames that you have, try to get, like, see this shape right here? That's shaped like this. This shape right here, try to get it to become this shape. So you like in between it. So you've got those two shapes in there, and the in between would be, is that this point is going to go from here to there. And then you just kind of make the shape become a hole and then go like that. So you're doing like an in between of those two shapes. Did that make sense? I think that your fire doesn't move. It just kind of, it grows. This node, this node, this node, this node, it just grows. The idea is to get that node to move on an arc and to get that ball to actually animate through that position. All right. Thank you, Damien. Jeanette. Okay, I think that it's starting to work again. You just got to get the loop to work. I think that the hole is working. I also think it might be a little fast. How many frames are in this?
8. Oh wait, sorry. 16.
16.
Yes.
I think it's the smoke is moving a little fast. And so I think that from our demo last week, if I remember, the smoke was on 4s and the fire was on 2s.
Oh,
Right.
okay. Maybe that's probably what the issue is.
All right.
Yeah, because I think I put the smoke on the same frame numbers as the fire.
Yeah, but I think that at one point, you see this little negative space here? It
Yeah.
looks like it's going backwards.
Ah, okay.
And I think that the other side does. In fact, like the whole form looks like it's going backwards. So if you look at my example, it's like you see that little U shape,
Mhm.
that little fish hook shape.
Mhm.
It starts and it moves all the way up. Okay, so I think you just got to get the loop a little more smoothly. All right,
Okay.
thank you, Jeanette. Hands. Oops. Randy.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I think that you've got this strange kind of style, but it works. The aesthetically, I think the one thing that's kind of missing is that if the smoke is being blown to the right, you know what I mean? Then why isn't the fire kind of going with it? I think that even in my example, I kind of gave the thing just a slight little wind. But for this, I think your fire's going up, and then as soon as it gets here, it goes to the right. I also think the smoke is wiggling around more than it's moving to the right. But it's a good try. Thank you, Randy. Hands for Randy. Rachel. Rachel, are you here tonight?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay, this is working. All the parts are moving correctly. It's a little slow. Are you on 3s or 4s?
For the fire?
For the fire, yeah.
No, I'm on 2s.
You're on 2s. I just think that it's moving like water. And you'll see that fire and water have similar kind of consistencies to them. I think it could be moving a little faster.
Okay.
Remember too that I was having that, maybe I didn't say this to you, but in my Friday class, I was telling everyone that I had this strange thing that was going on with Toon Boom, that it would play in the preview window, but something would caught my eye, and it's like, wait a minute. And then I rendered a movie, and the Toon Boom was just like playing at half speed. It was a strange thing. I think that what you need is some interior shapes to your fire, so that they're like a hole in it, right? So that little hole moves up and becomes this little piece that's going off into the clouds. Other than that, it's good. I like it. Hands, please.
Okay.
Hands for Rachel, everybody, please. Evelyn. Oh my, this is great. Yeah, you nailed it. It's great. There's one little piece, right? You might want to fix this. There's one piece that's right here. So whatever frame this is, you're about 3/4 of the way through it, that this frame goes up and then it goes backwards. See how it goes backwards?
Oh, yeah.
So it's going backwards for this frame right here. So you're about 75% through your animation, that this little piece right here flares up, it becomes big. This little this little duck shape right here. And then in the next frame, it goes backwards.
Yeah.
And then it disappears before it loops again. So when you look at it at speed, look, see how it's going backwards?
Yeah.
So just fix that little bit and I think you're good. The smoke looks great. Hands, please. Yes, thank you, Evelyn. It looks great. Okay, so the first thing that I would like to do is let me see if this is working. Let me do a quick check. Is Moses here tonight? And Leo, I think yes, I admitted you, right, Leo? Leo.
Yeah.
Leo's here, okay, yeah. Okay, so this is the fire that I was doing for my academy, or the smoke that I was doing for my academy class. It looks familiar, doesn't it? right? So this is just in Toon Boom. All right, so, and this is the speed that it plays at. You can tell it's moving really slowly. This is on 4s as well. Let me export a QuickTime movie and show you what it actually looks like. All right, and then this is what it looks like at speed. This is, you know, it's the same image that I was using. And it took me a while on Friday to get this part correctly. You see the little red in there? Where it was going backwards on me because I was stoned on lemonade or something. And it took me forever to fix this. And I was thinking that Hannah's gonna yell at me because I probably should have just started over. But I spent more time fixing this little part right here than I did animating the rest of it. So what I thought I would do is just kind of walk you through, because it's the same smoke cycle, but it's set up just a little differently. Just, oops, what am I doing? It's set up just a little differently. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 drawings for the smoke, just like we did in our rough animator. And I did the same thing. I did a track and I counted, and I have the actual frame numbers from 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, and 15. That counts out to 8 drawings. Although I have to apologize to my class on Friday because I must have had some methamphetamine or something in me, because when I was in the actual project window, I created 2 more frames between what would be frame 15 on my layout and frame 1 again. And it was like, what did I do? So I just really quickly fixed it. And on Friday, I'll make sure that I go over that again. So basically what I did is it's like the same basic layout. And I'm like, so I just move it up, right? So what I'm looking at is this distance, this 1/4 inch, this 1/8 inch distance here for each one of these little puffs of smoke. And that, remember that it slows down here so that this node right here, this little node right here animates into this node, and then it continues into this node, and then it slows down. So it moves into this node and then goes off the screen here, so that these 2 are closer together. These 3 are closer together. It moves pretty quickly here, like the wind kind of sprinted it, but then it slows down here. And that's probably what got me in trouble, because it happens on the bottom too. That little round sphere moves from drawing 1 back into drawing 1's position in 7 drawings. So it moves from there. So it's moving really quickly on the bottom, and then it slows down a lot right there. So what I wanted to show you was that I did a rough pass on this, and I just didn't quite think it was working as smooth. You can see the mistake right here. You can see that it's just kind of nubbing around in there. Let's take another look at it. Just like follow that one part. Follow this part right here. It moves up, and then it kind of shrinks and turns into a mess, and then it comes back again. So in my cleanup version, I've taken it so that it actually moves outwards. Let me turn my layout off, and I'm going to turn the playback off. And what I'm going to do is show you, oh, I want the smoke color here. So this is working. I'm just going to use my keyframe navigator, which in Toon Boom, it's the G key. So I'm just going to go through all of these keyframes on the smoke one by one. Let's just look at it. And what I'm looking for is, so yeah, you get a blank frame when you do that. So what I'm going to look for is this space right here. And if I wanted to like make a point of this or anything, when you're looking at something that's looping, it's hard to see all of these parts at the same time. So just concentrate your eyes like on this little negative space right here. I'll put my cursor over it as we go through it, and it should be moving and continuing to move up and through the cycle. See that? So it's going up, then it goes off the screen. So let's do let's do it with this one. So now it becomes the one we were just looking at and continues to move up off the screen. So now let's do like this main shape right here, this main outside curve right here. So let's just watch it. It's moving up, it's moving up, it continues to move up, it's moving up, it continues to move up, it continues to move up, and then it goes off screen. Everyone catch that? So let's do the bottom one. So let's just do this big outside shape right here. It starts here. It becomes a more recognizable outside shape. And if you do this, you can do the same thing in a rough animator, except that it's just a little different. So I'm just watching that little shape right there. And then it continues to move up, and then it just, so this one could be fixed a little bit. You know, I could get it to work better. But what I wanted to show you was that when I was going through this, I thought that these little bits that I've drawn in here, I needed one on the top. And so on my first keyframe, what I'm going to do is just, I'm going to add one onto this one. I'm going to look at it aesthetically. I'm going to pick like a little jelly bean shape like that. I'm going to go to the next keyframe, and I'm just going to remember my timing from the layout, right? So remember that distance that we just drew. I can turn my onion skin on to make sure that by the time I get to this keyframe, I know where it was and what the distance was, so that in this frame, I can just draw the jelly bean again. Oops, I don't like that. So I think a little bit of variety of shape helps. And then I'm just going to go to the next keyframe. And, you know, I could widen out the onion skin, but I could also just get this jelly bean thing to move around a little bit. So now I'm on the next keyframe. So it's tumbling. It's not changing size too much. It's just kind of tumbling. Watch. That's the first frame again. That was my last frame in the cycle. Now it's my first frame in the cycle again. So this piece is now over here again. And I'm just going to go to the next keyframe. I'm going to continue to tumble it. And I'm also going to remember that by the time I get up here, it slows down a little bit. So, and I'm also, at this point, I'm going to like, that tumbling is broken apart. So now on this frame, I'm breaking it apart into two pieces. Next frame, I'm going to slightly diminish the size of those. And in the next one, I'm just going to diminish it even more. The next one, I'm only going to have one and a dot. The next keyframe, I'm just going to have it going off the screen and then up off the screen. So you can see I've gone through this cycle at least twice. So let's see what that animation looks like. All right, to get that, everybody. Now, I'm not going to go too deep, more deeply into this, because the last time I did this, I couldn't save anything. And I'm in luck right now. It's allowing me to save this. So I'm going to close this. And I think I'm in luck. Okay, good. So let's go back into Rough Animator now. And let's do that same thing. In Rough Animator, I got my pencil. My smoke is this brown color. Let's ID that brown color carefully. I don't think it picked it up. Hold on a second. Let's just pick this one. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing. I have, let's make sure I'm on the right layer. So that's my fire level. That's on 2s. My smoke is up here. That's on 4s. So let me see if there's a keyboard shortcut for this. I'm going to experiment for just a second. Because we know that I'm on the first keyframe, and if I hit the greater than sign, it takes me frame by frame through the cycle, and then it stops. So I have to click back over here. But let me see if there's something different like the G key. Nope. M. Let me see if the forward sign. There we go. And it just adds frames. So I don't want that. So that was good. That's a little faster. And what I did right there is I'm looking at the right arrow. So on this one, I'm going to do this is the same thing here. I'm going to draw a little piece of the circle, a little puff of smoke right here. And I want everyone to just watch. Watch what I'm doing. So I just added a little piece of smoke. I'm on the first keyframe. I'm going to turn my onion skin on. I don't need it. The whole idea is I just want to just make sure that I'm in the right place. But there I am. So on this keyframe, I'm going to just repeat the little shape. On this keyframe, I'm going to repeat the little shape. Next frame, got to move it just a little more to the right. I'm watching the timeline too in the corner of my eye. And here I'm going to break it apart into two little parts. And then I'm on this one. Now I'm going to break it into little parts. I'm just moving it. Last frame. So then I'm going to make it smaller. Maybe I'll make it into 3 parts. But look, it's still got some distance to go off the screen. So we're going to be looking at the left side of this shape when we get to our first keyframe again. So we don't know where it was. So if I go backwards, I can't go backwards. So on my layout, if I wanted to make sure that it was in the right place, make sure that this was our layout, I could make a little mark on my layout to where this was right there, so I don't get confused. Let's go back to our frame number 1. And now we're just going to add, let's go look at it again. So there's 3 little puffs of smoke here that have to move to the right of this mark just about 1/8 of an inch. And so I'm just going to get those 3 little dots. And we're going to diminish them. We're going to make them go away. A forward sign. So this is the next keyframe. And then I'm just going to get one to be a dot and the other to just be a bigger dot. In this keyframe, I'm going to get this to expand a little bit and one of the dots to go away. Next keyframe, it moves up and just a tiny little dot. Next keyframe, it moves up. Next keyframe, it goes on top of the other one. Next keyframe, it's off the screen. So let's take a look at what that looks like. Save it. So what I did is I just added that little bit of smoke right there on the top, that little puff right there on the top. And I did it by, once again, just starting on, you don't even need to start on frame number 1. So let's start on the 4th frame and do the same thing. So on the, let's see where we need one. We need one maybe on the bottom, like right here or something. And this one's just going to be a different kind of shape. I want to close this in case I want to paint it at some point. It's weird that that shape is like that. Okay, so in this, and in order to do it this way, I'm going to have to go backwards. So if I want to draw like this little part right here, I'm going to go backwards, just a keyframe, forwards a keyframe, and this is where I was. So if I want one little tough puff of smoke to be right here, we're going to animate it forwards first. This one is going to have 2 pieces to it, so I don't get confused. So then I follow it, and this one's going to tumble just like I did it in the Toon Boom. So this one is going to be here. It's going about this far. It's tumbling. Let's do it again. So the small one is here. The bigger one is here. This is here and here. Now let's copy that onto our layout layer so that we know small and medium, so that when we get to the first layer, we know where it is. This is the small one. This is the medium one. Go forwards in time. Small and medium. It slows down here, remember, slow, small, and medium. And then that small one can just go away. So now we're just going to continue the medium shape. And I'm just going frame by frame. I'm just adding. I'm noticing in my timeline that this is the last keyframe. And I'll go do the same thing. I'll just make a little mark on the layout so I know where it is when I get to the first keyframe, that I know where it was. It was right here. And just keep going. And this is a really great way, as long as your cycle is working, this is a really great way to just add a little bit of embellishment to it. All right, so these two are just gonna disappear. They're disappearing here. And smoke can do that. It can certainly do that. So now it just goes away. Now we started on this frame here. Let's take a look at what it looks like. So you can see that it just kind of becomes, it's not jarring in my eye, but we started that little bit right here on this keyframe. So if we go backwards a keyframe, we can make it even more complete by just having it begin with a couple of little puffs of smoke and another one just right here. Now it'll be even smoother. All right, did you catch that, everybody? Let's do the same thing, starting on frame 1, by adding a shadow to this area right here. And in order to do this, in case I totally screw it up, we're just going to do this. No, I'm going to do it on the same layer, but I'm not going to touch the smoke here. We're going to pick a different color. We're going to pick some like color like this. So we're going to add it right there. All right, so, and I want to zoom in just a little bit on this. All right, so on this keyframe number 1, we're just going to keep it simple here. We're just going to do like a simple arc and then a little wiggle in that arc. Looks like a little baby moon. So, and we're just going to do one at a time because that one needs to be in these 3 positions here. But for right now, let's just do this one. It's smoke, so you can make it change a little bit. And this is oh, I don't like that shape. All right, so this is the last keyframe. We don't have to make a mark on our layout because we know where the next one is. It's right here. And so just go right here. Add that little shape in there. Maybe up here it gets a second wiggle on it. Go to the next keyframe. So now there's 2 wiggles. If you do this on another layer, you can change the transparency and put the shadow on it, so a different color shadow. All right, hopefully this is making sense. Hopefully this is giving you all a clue about how to touch up what you've already got. All right, so now we know that it's this one, right? Because we were here, now we're already back. And so because we know our animation is working, we're just embellishing it. And I think the fun thing about this is just get yourself into a rhythm, and you can do the highlight, you can do the shadow, because they're already done. Your motion is already done. This is a big jump here. I'm going to have to wing this just a little bit. All right, then we've probably got just couple more to get it off the screen. All right, let's take a look at it. So that was just done with just starting on the first keyframe and then just animating upwards, just going through it once, going through it twice, going through it 3 times, 4 times to get it. So there's something that caught my eye, and that is that once we get about here, we missed one. It's got to come back here, right? So let's just put like a little beginning of it so that it can grow. And then in the next keyframe too, just a little bit of it on this one so it can grow. Let's go back to our first drawing. Now it's going to go backwards, watch. So everyone watch this little piece right there. It's going to go backwards. See it go backwards? So I'm going to Command Z this for a couple of frames. All right, so let's see if that fixed it. Yeah, it's still going backwards. All right, let's test it again. All right, so it just appears, this little shape here appears out of nowhere. I think that what we're missing is that it's on the first drawing here, but in the last frame, it's kind of here. So let's just kind of wing it a little bit by just getting ourselves a little shape. Let's go backwards a keyframe and just kind of let it grow out of nothing. If we get it backwards, it's like a little hole. There, that'll fix it. So watch. Now it's not going to look like it's going backwards. Now it just looks like it's coming out, wiggling around and moving. You can do the same thing on the top with the highlight. All right, is everyone okay? Everyone okay? All right, so what I'm going to do right now, we need to do a quick little bit of research. And I did not want Craigslist. I wanted Google. Let me see if this is actually working right now. I feel lucky. Let's see if I can get my effects board to come up. Ooh, it's coming up. All right, yesterday this did not work at all, and today it's not working. So let's just put that away. Let's see if it can work in Chrome. I think I might have signed into this. All right, let's just use Google. We'll have to wait till that comes back next week. So what I want on 2D water splash. Let's just change it to images. I'm gonna put the word drawing in there just so we get the color out of it just for right now. All right, so one of the things that's near and dear to my heart is the 2D special effects. If I cross-reference this with Joe Gilland, he was the one of the effects supervisors on James, and he had done a whole bunch of 2D special effects for Disney for many years. He and Kathleen Quaife kind of led the department. Kathleen Quaife ended up being one of my teachers when I was going through my master's program, and actually just had a Zoom meeting with her before the academy semester started, because we're both running a animation class for the academy. But this is Joe Gilland, and he's published a book called The Elemental Magic. This is like the most beautiful water ever. And he's just, there's so much detail. It's just, it's so great. But we're not gonna technically simple it down just a little bit. We're gonna leave that shape right there. And let's just take another open window. Oops, I don't want that. Not St. Patrick's Day. Let's just do this again. And just take a look at some of the frame by frames. Sometimes we use the Timing for Animation book, which is part of our class. This is not part of that book. This is coming from somewhere else. And so I like this sequence. I can kind of see what I'm looking at. It's looking pretty good. I'm looking for one that is a lot more didactic, one that's more explanative. This one's pretty good. I like this. Something drops into the water. The water starts to come up. It's a cone. It's a three-dimensional object. The cone continues to grow, and then it forms over itself in 3D. The cone curls, and then the curl keeps moving, and then the bottom of the cone stops. And then the cone gets bigger, the water dissipates, and then goes back into the water. What this example has in it as well is a secondary splash. That little pebble that's fallen into the water, right about the 4th or 5th drawing, causes a little plunk, and another little splash comes up and stops and then goes back down. We can read it in this drawing right here, and that's good enough. So I like this. This is a pretty good explanation. There are 12 drawings in this cycle. So let's take a rough animator and open up a new page here. Got a new timeline. So let's do a little layout for ourselves. And in the layout, let's just give ourselves, we remember always just kind of think about your cinematic thirds, on your layout. It's always a good thing. Just when you're still starting, and give yourself corners where they combine the action safe and the title safe area. So action safe is always the first one, and then title safe is here. You can always give yourself a middle. Just, you don't have to do this every time. It's just a nice little habit to get in. The water we want to come up and splash. So let us put our water right at the cinematic third. It's right there. And again, this is just our layout. It's right there. You can have the water hit in the middle. I think that's fine. In our example, the pebble was dropping straight down. In some other examples, the water comes in and the pebble comes in an angle, and we see quite a bit more water off to one side. It becomes a little asymmetrical. It makes for a more interesting water splash for sure. It follows the same principles, the same frame by frame instructions, the same frame by frame sequencing as a straight pebble splash. So let's just have the pebble come in straight. It can be Wes Anderson. I mean, I've got Wes Anderson on my brain. So the pebble is going to come in here. It's going to hit the water. If we do a vanishing point, and we just kind of set our grid and there's a couple of reasons why I'm doing this. The first reason is that because everything that you draw should have some sort of perspective to it. Each one of these little squares should be square looking. Remember that you can't hold down the shift key in rough animator. It's a rough idea. We want the pebble to hit about right here, maybe even backwards just a little bit right there. Let me Z out of this. We want it to hit right here. And the reason we want it to hit right there is because it's going to create ripples that should be in a circle that's going to be in perspective. So the pebble is going to hit about right here, and then the ripples are going to be like this. They're going to be concentric circles that move out from that center point just right like that. Okay. So the other thing that we don't need to do this because we can just keep tabbing back and forth to see what these shapes look like. And I kind of like this just because the light colored water, which is kind of hard to see against the marquee background, is the water that's closest to us. And the water that is away from us is dark blue, which it makes sense. They're giving a little shade to it. Remember too that water can be like crazy beautiful. Go watch Pinocchio. Go watch Disney's 1951 Pinocchio and just look at it for the special effects. You'll be blown away. All right, so in this layout, I think what we can do is just we're gonna just lightly scrub in the one main key drawing here. And so we got the cone coming up. We've got like a little circle here. We're also going to draw a cone up here. And we're going to draw another cone, which is the leading edge here. And so we're looking at, and I don't need to embellish this any more than just kind of reminding myself that there is a three-dimensional quality to this. What we don't see is this edge on the back side. If we look at our example, we don't see white on the other side, right? The white is closest to us. You know, in this drawing right here, there's actually no white that is close to us. It's this line. But if this ridge went all the way around, we don't see it. So it's behind this stuff that's coming up. And so we can just draw a little squiggly line here representing this, oops, went too far. That represents the edge of the water as we see it. And so that's just our guide. And so on our background, let us give ourselves a deep blue ocean. Ah. All right, and you can embellish that all you'd like. Let's talk about the water. So on the background, layout, and we need a new layer. So this is just going to be W for water. This is going to keep this on 2s. And oh, I'm sorry. What did I do? Hold on a second. I did something crazy. Oh, okay. So this is my layout. And I want to move the layout down here. This is going to be water. All right, there we go. Layout, background, water. Okay. Water, 2 frames. Layout, we can just let this go all the way. And this is not loop. So we're just going to let this one go. I don't know. We got 32 frames. 48 frames is 2 seconds. Let's just start with 48 frames. So on this water, we don't want the water droplet to come in right away. You know, so we want our audience to have something to register to. So we're gonna have the little pebble come in maybe on frame 9. So we're gonna add a drawing, and then we're gonna take this back down to 2s. Oops, 2s. And we're gonna so the first thing we're gonna draw is our pebble. So let's pick a pebble color. A pebble color, a good pebble color is brown. Some sort of brown. Let's make it a little more yellow. That's fine. And right here, just like our bouncing ball, 8-frame delay, 8-frame pause, which is a third of a second, 1 beat. The little pebble comes in. All right, add a drawing. Onion skin is turned on, so I know this is accelerating just a little bit. So in this position, we're just going to test this. We're going to say add a drawing after, and we're going to get our pebble to just speed up just a little bit, just so we can see it catching our eye. You know, I think that if it's these 2 frames are this close together, it implies that the pebble was only dropped from just slightly off the screen. But that helps us a little bit because it isn't as moving. It's not moving as fast as it would be as if someone had thrown it from a great distance and it was moving actually very quickly. So this is, it actually, it's better for your eye here. Okay, so this is good. We've got this frame right here where it's almost hitting the water. Remember that that's important, because then in this drawing right here, we switch colors. Now we're gonna go to a different blue. And let's just pick like aquamarine and put that in our color palette. All right, so now the water starts. You know, at this point, we can just kind of kill our layout just a little bit. So it's not, all I want to see is just a hint of the shape of it, and we can always embellish it a little bit. But this is good. The pebble has come down, and the very next position that the pebble would have been in before the water interrupted it is about right here. And that's a good thing to know just when you're doing a special effect, is that how fast is it going? How big is it? What is the scale in the camera? It's just something to consider. So right here, according to our example, we see that there's just a little cone, and it's going to grow and it's going to get bigger. All right, so let's just start with a little cone. And I'm just going to draw this leading circle here and the cone like this. And I'm just going to kind of pencil in really lightly where the away and the near curve would be. And I'm just kind of give myself the look of water. And on the back side, I'm just going to see maybe just a little undulation, something like that. And I don't like this line right here or the other one next to it. So I'm just going to erase these little bits right here. I'm going to try to work fairly clean. I do want this edge though. Remember, it's technically a cone, but it's water, so it's a little amorphous. So I want like that little bit right there. And so this is a fairly decent shape for the first frame. And let's add a frame, add a drawing. All right, so now we're trying to get at this bigger cone. This spreads out a little bit. So go ahead and get the base and the center part of the cone to grow. This thing has hit the water with a certain speed. And just kind of do the same thing. What you want to look at is that cone growing. So just do the same kind of thing. Get this to envelope over, draw the leading edge so that it's up from the position that it was just in. You can draw this, which is the near edge that's closest to us, and this is the cone for the far edge that's away. And just, what you can do at this point is you can go back to Joe Gillens and you can try to see if you can mimic some of those shapes. There's a definite 3D quality there. So, but we want to simplify it a little bit. We don't want to be here for 17,000 hours. And so I'm looking at this shape, and we're going to probably erase just a little bit of that. I'm looking at what the away shape looks like. So, give a little up arc. It comes closer to our circle in perspective. It comes back in. And the right side, just make sure it's not symmetrical. Make sure that it has a variety of shapes. All right, so let's see what this edge looks like right here, because that's what we're doing right now. And so I want to erase a little bit so I don't get confused. And we're going to switch back to the pencil. And what we're going to do is we're looking at, so he's got a definite little, he's got this leading edge really low so that we can see the far edge away. And we're not going to be able to borrow that too much. What we want is just to make sure that this leading edge is moving up from the position that it was just in. You can see that, oops, I went too far. You can see that, stop it, that he's got these lines in here. We might be able to mimic that just a little bit by reminding ourselves that we can just draw some lines right there. Just a reminder that we can do those. We're also going to look at the example for the little bits of water that are spreading out, that are at the tip of it. It's pretty forgiving. There's a whole bunch of them. We don't need to draw like crazy, but maybe one or two on each side. Different variety of sizes. This always helps. Go to the third drawing. All right, now in the third drawing, the cone really hasn't spread out too much more, the bottom of the cone. So just kind of stick with it, maybe just a little bigger. Get this up. And follow the same thing that you just did, that little cone right there. Get the leading edge. Now remember that this water, if you wanted to jump down to your layout, what you could do on your layout here is give yourself the direction that this water is flowing out. It's following those little lines that you drew on the layout, but it's already come up and it's already starting to go down. So on your drawing then, it's not only going up, but it's also starting to go down. Yeah, I mean, it's just the way water works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this leading edge to go up just a little bit. It's probably as far as we'll need it to go. And this water is going to go out to the right and it's going to go down and to the right. And you'll see here in just a second a really great way to embellish this. Now, if I brought this all the way here, we wouldn't see the cone. So I'm just going to cut about halfway through it. And I'm going to draw some holes. 2 holes on one side, 1 on the other. I'm going to go backwards a keyframe and see if we can get those holes to animate first. So I don't see a lot of space, maybe just like a circle here and a little circle here. And let's go to the next keyframe. All right, so now we're going to lock this in, and this can come up a little bit more just so that it's not dying in 3-dimensional space. We look at our example and we can see that it's actually left the ground here, the surface of the water. And the little plunk is starting to come up at that point too, so we can mimic that. So, and the other thing that's happening in this and in this keyframe is that the water is starting to dissipate. So animate this part going out and down and breaking apart at the same time. So this circle here becomes a bigger circle. And the other little one becomes a medium-sized one. We can actually get at the spindle, which means it's breaking apart. This circle is breaking apart. Okay, and let's get this stuff to come really close to us. This can also have the lines in it that we saw in the backside of the drawing just before it. All right, so we want this line here that made up our perspective to start making the ripple. So what we're going to do is we're just going to draw 2 little indications here to start the ripple. For the away side, we're going to draw the plunk that's coming up first. And if we go backwards, we might be able to get the beginning of the plunk. So if we go this frame, we don't need it. But here, the plunk is always nice to have a couple of different shapes in it. And now you can draw the away curve. I want to make it a little higher than that. It kind of looks like a flower because it's kind of what it is. It's a flower of water. All right, let's go to the next frame. And now these little holes are really, oh, we need to get the little droplets that we started. And you can add a few more too. A few more is always nice. All right, so here the water is just kind of doing this. And this water here, this is already broken apart. And so this water is just almost hitting the surface of the lake. There's another one here. This water has continued coming down. This hole has created this. Oh, that looks like an ugly piece of water. I'm going to change that. So this one has just become like a regular water droplet. This one on the away side is going to have a little 3 shape to it. The plunk continues to go up. This water over here, we're just gonna, I don't like that. I'm just gonna start and go out, back in again. I'm gonna put another secondary splash here. These lines end up moving a little bit. I'm gonna embellish this with just a couple of little droplets of water. I need something here. So I'm just gonna draw these, like these little spindles of water on the away side. It's going down, but all we see is that it's kind of undulating a little bit. So any kind of water shape will work. I'm actually gonna not cover up the plunk just for a reason. All right, and then continue to draw just those little shapes that look like circles. I'm gonna put another little spindle right there, another frame. All right, and then this is definitely hitting the water. So this, it's gonna cause a little splash of its own. This one too, this has already hit the water and it's causing a little splash of its own, droplets. This is now gonna help read the motion. So get that little simple shape to move just to the right and to the left and to come down and forward. And these guys here are definitely hitting the water. Now, technically, each one of these would have its own ripple, but we're just gonna do one main ripple. All right, we'd see that ripple in the previous frame. We didn't draw it, so we need to continue the ripple here. And you don't have to draw the whole thing, just draw like the right and the left side. If you can get the near, and remember, I did that grid so we can continue to keep it in perspective. Go back a frame and follow your animation. So these little pieces of water are going that way, you know, and all of a sudden where it looked like the water was falling apart or dissipating, you've actually got a couple of good frames to draw here. The plunk continues to go up one more. And I did pay attention to it's slowing down. So this little plunk is slowing down here. Make it go a little higher. And that's as high as maybe one more drawing. Concentric circles, this stuff is moving on here. This line is moving down. This is moving down. Let us go through our keyframes and see how it looks. All right. So we added, so that adds another drawing here, by the way. I think Hannah alerted me to that when we first started using this rough animator. So that's a nice way to just keep going fast. All right, so the splash here, just a little bit, just a little bit of mayhem, a little bit of craziness, a little bit of splashing. These guys are continuing to move to the left. These guys are moving to the right. There's your center. This is coming down. There's a bunch of splashing here. Now the water's coming up, a little bit of mayhem. These guys are going down. And this has just reached the top of its height. Concentric circle keeps to move out to the left and to the right positions, maybe a little bit closer to us as well. Go backwards a keyframe, see how it's looking. And we can always embellish it here. All right, so now this water is going to start to move down. This little plunk is moving down. And let's go, oh, hold on a second. I'm going to Z out of this, hold on. Now we got 2 frames right there. So this is coming down. And just like we were doing with the fire, sometimes it makes sense to draw the pieces that you're drawing in the same order. Your hands tend to have memory. This is the concentric circle. And this is now splashing over here, a little secondary splash. These guys are going down. All right, next, in the next drawing, the plunk starts to move down. And these guys are finishing. And the concentric circles. Remember that the concentric circle should form a circle in perspective. All right, so let's go backwards a keyframe and follow this through. This is going down. This is going down. All right, next keyframe. Adding a keyframe, and this starts to speed up a little bit. It's starting to gain momentum. This is hitting the water already. This is hitting the water. Concentric circle. Oops, I don't like that shape. Next keyframe. This plunk is starting to speed up. This has hit the ground by the water, has hit the surface. Concentric circle, I don't like that. The concentric circles move out at about the same speed. They don't change. They don't get faster or slower. All right, next keyframe. Get the water to speed up a little bit. You don't want everything to end at the same place, so get these little droplets in let them end in different frames. All right, and one more keyframe. Oh. This speeds up just a little bit. Ripples continue, and remember too, once again, that these ripples are not only technically connected to each other, but they can dissipate as well, right? And this we accidentally made an extra keyframe. So again, now I know what you're thinking. This is going to create its own secondary splash. Let's give the layout a bunch of frames. Let's take it up to 64 frames. Let's squish our timeline. Let's give ourselves a blank keyframe, and let's just give a tiny little splash right here. So we're just going to redo what we did, just what we did, but we're going to just make a tiny little splash because we're just having fun with it now. Now, technically, this little splash would have its own ripple as well, but that's okay. Remember that this is not a solid object. This was just water hitting the surface of the lake. So it's just going to fold into itself. And I'm locking these into position here. Then I'm going to go backwards and get the concentric circles, the ripples, to dissipate by just drawing less of them. You know, literally they would go out a longer way, but we're just going to draw them so that they kind of dissipate. And I've got those keyframes locked in already. So all I'm doing is hitting my forward arrow on the keyboard. And now I'm going to go back and look at it. So let's see what we've got. Okay, looks okay to me. So let's embellish it just a little bit. Let's turn our onion skin off. Or just all the way down. So the pebble's coming in. Well, let's look at it one more time. I want to see I want to see what that pebble looks like. I think it's moving okay. I think what I'm going to actually do on this frame is erase the first one, which will, oops, that's not my erasing tool. This will give the appearance of it speeding up. Watch. And I don't like that. So I'm going to look at this frame and I'm actually going to put that pebble back in there. But I'm going to just put it like coming in off the screen. Now, let me just check. Yeah, that'll work. So this is a thing in animation. It's called leading your eye. If something just touches the screen, even though it's out of action safe, your eye tends to pick up on it. Okay, so let's look at the water. Let's embellish our water. Starting at the first keyframe, let's just keep hitting the right arrow. And this looks okay. I think that I could add a little, I've got the wrong color. All right, I could add a little line right there, and I can add a couple of little droplets on this drawing. Next keyframe, animate that droplet that you just drew over here. Again, you can just add the little detail of the lines that are nearest to us. This looks okay. I could use a little droplet out here. Go backwards and get these little droplets to animate. Backwards, get them to animate. Backwards, animate. Backwards, animate out. Add a couple. Take a look at your composition. There's your way shape is missing here. You know, and look at the composition. What do you need? You know, you don't need a little droplet everywhere, but a little bit helps. Now we're going forwards. We got some of the droplets. Go backwards, forwards, backwards, forwards, backwards, forwards, backwards, forwards, forwards. A couple of little droplets here. You know, you don't want too many, just enough. Do the ones that you just drew, following through, backwards, forwards, backwards, forwards, backwards, forwards, forwards, forwards. It's not listening to me. Forwards, there we go. Backwards, it went too far. Going forwards, and we need to just embellish just a few drops here and there. All right, a little more. There's a couple more, maybe there's one out here by magic. All right, let's concentrate on the ripple right now. All right, let's see what we've got. Save this. Oh, sorry. Billy B underscore water V1. All right, I think it's working fairly well. Let's take a look at all the little shapes again. So this is coming in. That little shape, we're going to zoom in on this just a little bit so we can see if we need to embellish this just a little bit. Oh, this missing. So in this drawing here, these little texture lines are missing. And really they're missing here too. So you can start to put those little lines in there. It'll help the overall appeal. And then animate them out. Make sure that they continue. So go backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. Forwards. So let's just take a look at this. My intuition is that we might need to do a technical between this drawing and this one and that one. But let's take a look at it again, just to study the overall timing. Yeah, I think everything is working really well here, but I think that it's moving just a little fast between this frame and this frame and this frame. So that is on our playback, that's frame 23, 25, and 27. Let's just take a look at it again. And we're looking for this little plunk coming up. That's like that should be the first frame second frame when we see the plunk. So let's just take a look at we're going to look for frames 25, 27, 29. Yeah, let's slow it down right there just a little bit. So right here, I think this one's okay. But between these two frames right here, we need one in between. So just like we did, we're going to add a drawing. And so this is a blank drawing. Make sure that you did it in the right place between that one and this one. So let's just do our in between. Let's make our onion skin range just here. And bring the opacity back up just a little bit. And you know, it's a shame that we can't rotate the screen because it's a little easier to draw. But just go back, make sure that you're doing the right thing and you're looking at the right shapes. So go backwards a frame, go to the blank frame, go forwards a frame. You know, now you're picking up the green from this one, but that's okay. So we're doing the in-between between this blue one and this blue one. So, and as soon as we make a mark in here, it'll be obvious. So just like our fire, this shape has to move into this one. So just get those shapes working. This has got to come up. This little part, this little nub here is going to move out. It's going to catch up to it. There's a hole that's moving. And then look at it. If you need to, go backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. This shape is right here. And I'm doing the near shape because it's easier to see. So let's just do this shape first because it's easier to see. Now let's do the edge. So let's go find it. So this edge, this blue edge right here, went to this position right here. So let's just draw a line right in between it. Now you're an in-betweener. Now you're doing your own in-betweens. Go backwards, make sure you put it in the right place. Forwards, make sure you put it in the right place. All right, so now make sure you're drawing on the right drawing. Get these lines to animate in between, get that little plunk to start. Get the main shape of the cone in there. Oops, I don't like that line. And the bottom part. And it's going to have a little bit of texture on it. And let's see what we've done. Let's make sure we go backwards a frame and forwards a frame, forwards again. It's moving pretty close. Let's take a look and see what it looks like. Frame number 1, play it. Okay, that looks great. I mean, I think we only need one more, just one more. Instead of 3 more, I think we just need to go from this drawing. Let's turn the onion skin down just a little bit. We want to go from this frame to this one. You know, it breaks apart just too fast. So this is going to be a little challenging for you because it's full here. It's a mushroom, but in this frame, it's all broken apart. So it's going to be a little trickier. Let's add our drawing. And we've got the onion skin, but just study it. It goes from the full backwards to mushroom shape or to the broken apart. So you're just going to literally do the in-between. Start with this leading edge. And this leading edge. And this leading edge. And this one. And this one. And this one. And this one. Let's go backwards a frame and see where our edge is. And now it's in the next one, it's gone. So let this, so this is a little tricky here. So it's going from like an enclosed shape that you could almost paint and get like a full color there, right? And then in this drawing, you know, we just have a little bit of that leading edge moving, right? This one might be in the wrong place. I was following the core and not the water that was nearest to us. Backwards, forwards. So yeah, this position goes here. Backwards, forwards, forwards again, backwards, forwards. Okay, so let's now do these little texture shapes right here. In this drawing, they're right here. In our drawing here, there's going to be the thing that breaks apart. So instead of animating it as a shape that's moving, we're going to animate it to connect these little parts. This one can be like the part that starts to break apart. We're just going to hint at it. And look at the green. Look at, but now what becomes the blue, right? So what is happening with the green one? It's becoming this little ghost shape. But in this drawing, it was all one big shape. So this can easily just be like this. It looks like a tooth. And it can also go have a little trailing behind it. In this drawing, this circle is there. And then in this one, it's gone, right? In this one, the circle's there. And in this one, it's gone. So get the trailing edge of the circle and then stop. It's like, that would look like an incorrect way to in between a circle into a U-shaped. So get the circle to animate just a little bit, and you're hinting at the circle, right? You're just like, the circle is moving down just a little bit, and then it breaks up into becoming its own little shapes. Right, so what's most important is this leading edge, because that's the thing that your audience is going to see. So we see this like shape 1, 2, 3, 4 little pointed parts away. And in this one, there's nothing. So in our drawing that we're doing now, we want to start 1 and then look at the green, 2, connect it, 3 and 4. Go backwards, forwards, forwards. Yeah, it's working. Backwards, forwards, okay? So this little circle is going away. That's okay. We're going to just bring it like this, backwards, forwards, forwards. Backwards. This circle, it continues as a circle. That's the one that's going to continue as a circle. And we can just, in this one, the circle turns into a splash. All right, so let's see what we've got just as looking at animation so far. Yeah, it's working just fine. Nothing caught my eye. That's what you're looking for, is you're looking for anything that's catching your eye. All right, so the next thing in the next phase of this, you want to make these shapes closable. So start putting in your little splashes and get this shape closed. And then as long as you're studying it, we went from a big closed shape to now partially closed, and lots of spindly things are opening up. And then this one, it's all just separate shapes. So we're going to need just a few more little shapes to pull this off. Okay, so at the line that I just drew right here might be going backwards. So what I want to do is I want to stop, and we're looking for frame 31. So a second and a half, a second and a third into it, frame 31. I'm looking for this little A shape right here to see if it's going backwards. Let's see if it's going backwards. I didn't see it going backwards, so let's stick with it. Let's just close this shape. You'll know immediately if you were to paint this, and if that shape goes backwards, you could get yourself into some animation trouble. All right, so now I'm going to fill in the plunk. This is easy. It's just a straight in between. You just got a couple of shapes. Just do a straight in between. The away side, you're just in betweening the lines. You're trying to remember that you're trying to go from a fully closed shape into one that is just partially broken up. Let's add in our little splashes. Those are straight in betweens. All right, let's take a look as we're keyframing through it. So let's just see if anything catches our eyes as we're going forwards in time, just forwards. All right, one thing is catching my eye right here. This line, which is the leading edge, disappears in this drawing just a little too fast. So I'm just going to hint at that line, holding in space. It's just going to hold there for a moment, and it's going to turn into little droplets. And hopefully that'll make sense in the next drawing by getting those droplets to move just a little bit and to dissipate. All right, let's see what that, so now what I'm looking for are those little droplets that I just drew on the leading edge when it was breaking apart. All right, that looks great. I think the timing looks okay. I can see those little droplets disappearing. So now let's just go through it frame by frame and see if we can embellish anything. It's looking pretty good. Let's zoom in on it so we can see the shapes just a little better. Let's even go, because let's just go all the way to 200%. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of touch this up. Remember, we were drawing pretty cleanly. I was trying not to make too many mistakes. So now what I'm going to do is just try to fill in those little places where we can paint it, where we can put a bucket on it. Maybe draw these edges of the cone a little more strongly. So once I think about that, I'm going to go backwards to the edge of the cone, just kind of to emulate we could almost use a drawing in between this one and this one. Let's try something funny. Let's add a drawing here. So we got a blank drawing right here. We're going to draw something magical. What's happening here is that the timing of our pebble that was falling came from this kind of timing, plunk, 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 plunk. And so on our next drawing, it would be fully in the water. But on this frame right here, let's just get the water to kind of do something fun. Let's see if we can find a reference for it. We don't see reference here. We're kind of looking at that very beginning of the disturbance of the surface of the water. Yeah, something like this. Just a really simple shape right there that just kind of starts to come up. And so let's copy a couple of things. One is that the water, the pebble is going to deform the water just a little bit. Actually, let's start right here. It's going to deform the water, and it's going to just kick the water out just a little bit on this side, and maybe a little bit close to us, and then we can see where it's going with the green one. And so, and then on the away side, it's just kind of maybe a little bit of a thing like that. Let's just draw a part of the circle like that. Now, I think that this will animate fine, but I think this is a horrible shape. But let's see if it times right. So let's go to the beginning and play. Yeah, I think that it's fine. The actual drawing, or the spacing of the drawing, it's fine. But I don't like this shape that I just drew. And I don't like this little edge or this little thing here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just smooth this out. And I'm going to draw a droplet. And then on this side, I'm going to draw the circle that would make up the edge of the circle in perspective. And then I'm going to just draw it like that, maybe. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually draw another circle inside here that would be like the indentation of it. All right, so I know it's going to work. This edge right there is looking a little funny, but let's go make sure that our lines are connected. So here what we're doing is we're just kind of getting in making sure that the edges of the cone are a little darker, that our shapes are closed, so that when we paint it, they'll fill in correctly. And this is kind of horrible right here. So, and I can't fix that by adding. So I'm going to spend a moment with my erasing tool, just getting rid of these little tails. Let's see if there's any more. Let's just go through our frames here and see if there's any more of those. Here's one. Here's another one. Just so get rid of those like little digital tails that pick up from your tablet as you're pulling the tablet off. And remember, we're at 200%, so we're seeing it more. So there's another little tail. And so anytime you see one of those little digital tails, get rid of it. Here's one. There's another one. There's one. There's another one. Continue, get rid of the digital tails. There's one. Actually, I'm going to keep that one because it's part of the movement. There's one. There's another one. All right, let's go back to our frame one, back to our pencil, and continue here. The water is looking okay. You know, we could fix this line up right here. Okay, this is a double line. I might want to erase that later. All right, now I'm just looking at the aesthetics of each drawing. These lines here that describe the cone probably need to go away because, and I think I went too far, because we technically don't see them. They're behind the little petal of water that's coming towards us. So let's diminish those a little bit. Let's see if we could. So there was only on two frames. There's one here. And that's okay. So let's get our pencil back and go back a couple of keyframes. Now forwards a couple of keyframes. Let's strengthen the cone and the base. That technically is the first ripple. We're continuing forward. Close your shapes. Oh, there's a digital tail right there. Didn't pick up. There's another digital tail. You know, try to get them all on one pass because switching tools is just a little too hard and rough animator. Okay, now we're continuing. All right, so let's start here and see if all the little droplets animate through correctly. All right, let's take a look. I'm going to save this. Let's go back out to 100% and take a look at it. All right, so one thing that I'm going to do here is I'm just going to spend a few moments putting a little ripple on this secondary plunk. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because it went up and it's coming down and it gave us a little splash. So let's take this out. Let's take the layout out to frame 72. Let's take it out to frame 80. And we just need a couple of little hints at the little ripple coming from this secondary splash right here. Let's move in a little closer so we can see it. And it's not going to go all the way out. We just want a few little concentric circles here to hint. Now let's go backwards and see if we can get that started, just so it doesn't abruptly change. This is the main punch of the water hitting. And so let's just get this little concentric circle to just the left and the right side, just a little bit. And this one interferes with this drop. So let's cheat it by missing a frame. And one on the right, one on the left, and one on the left. And I think we're done. Save. Let's go back out to 125%. Take a look at our shot. Okay, I think it's looking pretty good here. One thing that's just kind of catching my eye, if you will, is that the in-betweens we did are fine, but it does slow it down just a little bit right there. So let's just try something. This frame right here, let's just take it down to ones. That's an in-between, and the frame before it we did was a keyframe. This is this one right here was the one we did. So let's put this on ones as well. Just because I felt that the timing was okay, but we didn't have enough drawing right there. We can always change that back. All right, so now we're looking for just a little bit quicker on that upper part of the arc on the water. And this one's fine. I think it's good. We would spend a minute just going through there and closing up the shapes. If I was doing this, I would look at my rock. I would look at the pebble coming in, and I would paint it a lighter color. So I would ID the color. And it looks like it picked up a softer color anyway. And just, so yeah, this is fine. So let's go frame to frame. And I'm just going to paint the center of it. And remembering too, that once you do this, you might end up getting like that little strobe effect. Something crazy might happen. Because we see that there's like a little tiny white line in there. In Photoshop, if you double click when you're painting with the bucket, it overfills it. But here you end up getting like this little ridge right there. And so you can paint it with your pencil or whatever. But listen, and remember that once you do this, you're giving yourself a little bit more contrasts to the background. So what ends up happening is that it will end up causing a little strobing effect. So I'm going to try to, so it's not quite behaving, trying to fill in that little space right there, but that's okay. All right, so let's paint our water just really quickly. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a darker blue, and I'm going to paint the core, this part here. Yeah, and now it's like freaking out. It's not giving me a really clean fill. And so I might change my mind. I think that this is just not looking correct. If I wanted to do this correctly, I might go and put down a really, really clean line on top of this. Let's see if see, I'm getting the same thing here. I think that maybe
You can change the thing to like expand like however many pixels, so like it doesn't have the light border on the like color wheel thing.
which tool?
It says fill expand.
Oh, I
It's
see.
like right below.
I see. Let's just, okay. I haven't gotten to this part of production in so that just overkills it, right? Because I'm losing these lines here.
I think with mine, I basically colored it on a different layer and stuck it underneath the line layer, and it kept it clean. Like you can duplicate your layer and color one of them and then have your lines over the
Yeah,
top.
so you all know how to do that. Yeah. But so I think that just, you know, that embellishment is fine. That's up to you. I think that what I was trying to get at is that you see it differently once it's painted. Okay, you got the idea. It looks like we're fast. We finished at 9 o'clock instead of 9:30. All right, it's looking pretty good. The little bit of ripples there at the end really help, because it doesn't die, right? That little frenetic energy of a little plunk doesn't die. And also, what also happens in this test is that we've got 12 frames at the end where nothing is happening. And you know, that's fine. So if 8 frames at the beginning and a beat and a half at the end. So I think that's good. I think that's good. All right, so I'm gonna